All right, everybody, welcome to a very, very special episode of the Billy Rickman Show. Not only is my guest one of my absolute favorite online entrepreneurs, it's episode number 100 for me for the Billy Rickman Show. And who would have thought 12 months ago when we started this podcast that we'd be getting here? But this morning, I'm super excited to be interviewing someone who lives and breathes entrepreneurship. He's been working on his craft since 8, I believe. Developed multiple companies, had huge successes, and learned some difficult lessons along the way. He's the author of the Entrepreneurial Personality Type, creator of the hugely popular podcast Momentum, and is building a movement. And he's hugely passionate about communications, building the right team, strategic planning, all the way from the US. Welcome to the show, Alex Charfen.
Billy, I'm so glad to be here, man. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I'm so super fun, man. I can't believe it. So, quick backstory for people who are watching. If you can see out my window right now, it's pitch black. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I've been here since 2:30 a.m., which I wouldn't normally mind, except I was here at 2:30 a.m. yesterday as well because totally got the days mixed up. And I thought this was yesterday, but here we are. We finally made it, Alex. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Billy. I'm excited to be here. It's it's exciting to be your 100th podcast. I actually really take a lot of pride in that. I think that's super cool. And congratulations on 100 episodes.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I really love it. Much like yourself. I mean, we'll talk about your podcast in a second, but I love it. And I love the feedback I get and how, you know what I mean? Like you can sometimes pick up your phone and record an episode and you just think it's you just talking into a phone or whatever you're doing. And then you get all these messages from people and they say that, that really touched them or really changed them and moved them. And I think it's so powerful that we have this, opportunity these days to touch so many people.
Yeah, it's awesome. I look at it as each day I get to do a 15 to 20 minute keynote speech in front of somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 people. Like that is, when I say that, I get goosebumps. It's like, it gives me chills to think that every single day I get to engage at that level with that many people.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk a little bit about you. So I just said to you just before we quickly, when we jumped on, we just quickly had a 30-second chat, and I said that you guys, I've been so pumped to do this because I'm on a bit of a mission in my own industry, which is the hair and beauty industry, to allow or to get people to fall in love with entrepreneurship as much as they do with hair and beauty. And I think that you are one of the leading entrepreneurs online who's just getting so much attention, so much exposure. So before I go into that little bit, can you tell my audience anyway, a little bit about what Charfen does, your company? You were on the INC 500 top fastest growing companies for 3 years, I think it was, got up all the way up to number 21. And a lot of your podcasts, like I've been just obviously for prep, I've been listening to your podcast for so long, but obviously for prep reasons, I've been just immersing myself in your content. And there's absolutely an underlying message in everything you talk about. So tell us a little bit about what Charfen is, who you are, and what makes your company different.
So we are a coaching and training company. And here's what we do, Billy. If I'm going to take it to the highest level for you, we work with visionary entrepreneurs who can't turn it off and want to make a contribution as much as they want to make a living. And we show them the systems, the tools, and frameworks that allow them to lean into their strengths, ignore their weaknesses, build teams, and grow organizations. And the change we want to make is that entrepreneurs have the confidence to hire, get help, ask for help, and build an empire. And we will know we're successful when any entrepreneur anywhere who wants to have a huge outcome in the world comes to us, and we help them make their dent in the universe.
That is so cool. So look, I've got to, it would be remiss of me not to mention one of my colleagues. Her name is Tara. Tara is, I would say, business smitten with your message. She, honestly, I swear, like, I'll come to work and she goes, "Did you check out Charfen's new podcast?" I'm like, more than likely I did, but which particular episode are you talking about? And she's totally, but you know what, the more people I speak, I've got another coach, Chrissy, who's totally, she actually had a call with one of your coaches, I think, the other day. But there seems to be this romance with the Alex Charfen message. And I wonder what that is and why so many people are falling in love with the message that you provide. And why do you think that is? Because I know the reason I say that is because I know you're really, really big on building a mass movement, and it seems like you are. It seems like there's just this movement for you and your brand.
Yeah. Billy, I think that I think that what I do today is the biggest privilege I've ever had in my life. I get a little emotional about it because I think the reason so many entrepreneurs resonate with my message is that every one of us has felt different and isolated and alone and like a party of one, and like we didn't really have a place to belong. And a few years ago, I sat down to write a book proposal for a book on how to run a company. And I couldn't get through the proposal because I got to the part that said, describe your client. And I went to describe entrepreneurs, and nothing I wrote was significant enough. Nothing I wrote felt important enough. And it was 250 words. Like, I can write 250 words in 5 minutes normally. I've been writing for my whole career, and I just got stuck. It was like literally the cursor was yelling at me. And I got up, I walked around my house. I couldn't figure it out. I talked to Katie for a second, and I came back down and I sat down and I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to remove the 250 word limit, and I'm just going to describe entrepreneurs. And that day, this content called the Entrepreneurial Personality Type poured out of me. And it was like all the super highways in my head merged into one. And it was the most bizarre feeling, because the work that I've started doing when I was a kid, the reading that I started doing when I was a kid, the study that I have been doing my whole life, all the people I've ever read about, all the business books I've read, all converged into this theory that there's not just entrepreneurs in the world, there's the entrepreneurial personality type, and we are fundamentally different than the rest of the world. And I remember writing,
100%.
I wrote 22,000 words in a weekend. It's more than I've ever written in one sitting. And those words became the book, The Entrepreneurial Personality Type. Here's one of the early editions of it. And I think that here's why so many entrepreneurs resonate with this message, is because every one of us has been told to sit down, stop talking, stop making everyone else uncomfortable, and just act like the rest of the team, or act like the rest of the room, or, stop being yourself. And the reality is that is the rest of the world trying to keep us down. And evolutionary hunters, the people who we were put on this planet to make the world a better place, to move everyone forward. My theory is that entrepreneurs are the only consistent source of positive human evolution, and we always will be. And for every one of us who's ever felt different or isolated or alone or confused, I have a message for you. If you've felt that way, and I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel alone. I know what it's like to feel like you don't have a home. I know what it's like to feel like you're the only one who feels like you do. And I know what it's like to have that small voice in your head saying, you're meant for more, you should do more, you should be more, there's more for you to give, there's more for you to leave behind. And it will drive you crazy if you don't lean into it, because so many of us have been convinced that voice, that noise, that what we're hearing is not the voice of reason, that's the crazy part of us. But I want you to know, if you're hearing it, that is the most rational part of you, and it is the most important thing you're hearing. And for anyone who's felt isolated or alone, I want you to know something. Think back through history, the history that you remember. Think of everyone who matters to be remembered, anyone who you've ever looked up to, or you've ever thought, I want to be like that person, or I respect that person, or that person was amazing. And that is your tribe. That is your birthright. That is who you are. And so my message to anyone who is who's even listening to this and thinking about getting into business, if your mind is pregnant with the question, the answer is heck yeah. Go for it, because if you've ever thought you're meant for this, then you're in exactly the right place.
I love that. It's also, it's like watching a live version of your podcast intro. I was just feeling so into that just there. It was awesome. So let's then, I really want to touch on that, because one of the things, the content, the words that just came out of your mouth then was so perfectly articulated. But also, I think maybe one of the things that really shines through and that people fall in love with your content is the passion that comes through, right? Because it's not just some act. It's not just some, BS kind of just show. It really does seem like it comes from a place where you believe it at a really cellular level. So how important is passion in business? And is it one of the reasons perhaps people don't do as well as they should, because they really don't feel it like they should, and they're not as passionate about it?
Billy, I've got a podcast about being obsessed, because I think that business is the hardest commitment that you'll make in your lifetime.
100%, yeah.
If you decide to be a business owner, you need to understand that you have chosen a road that is significantly harder than just about any decision you could ever make. And you also have chosen a road that will teach you more and evolve you more and make you a better person in a more significant way than just about anything else you can do. I think being a parent is up there. I think successfully navigating a marriage is up there. And then running a business is just as hard as those two, and it will grow you just as much. And when you're in a business, you, in my opinion, you must be obsessed with what you're doing. It has to drive you at a cellular level. It has to be something that when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about the client you serve. You're thinking about your business. You're thinking about your team. Your discretionary effort is there anyway. Here's why. If the people around you feel that passion from you, if your clients feel that passion from you, if your team does, they will feel the same way you do. And that feeling is magnetic. And the problem in the world today is this. People are not buying just good marketing. They're buying the energetics of the person that they see. And now with social media and the amount of exposure that we have, you better be for real who you are. Because if you create a persona or some marketing thing that you're going to do or pretend like you're somebody else, you're dead in the water these days. So you have to put yourself out there 100%. And if you're not completely passionate and involved in what you're doing and committed to it, like your life depends on it, you're going to have a hard time growing a business.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And especially social media. One of the things I've been writing about a lot lately, I've just wrote a new book that's kind of in its draft stage, sorry. And it's, it really is about, one of the first chapters is about the importance of these days of building a personal brand as well. And I compare two businesses together. You know, you've got business A and business B. Business A is just a commercial business that sells products, services, as a commodity. And then business B does those things also, but has as a business owner that's got a personal brand attached to it as well. And it's so important for people to associate with that, because at the end of the day, people want to do business with people. They don't want to do business with business. They've been burnt so many times in the past by businesses from false promises and under delivering. So they're looking for that connection in a person's business as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, Billy, here's the other thing is that 100% of business owners, if you're going to build anything significant, then you're going to build a team. Just get over it. You know, I hear entrepreneurs all the time say, oh, I want to grow a business, but I don't ever want to have team members or a team. Well, that's kind of like saying, I want to build a house, but I don't want to have a roof or walls.
Yeah, or I want to have a family without a wife and kids.
Right, yeah, I have the first solo family in the history of the world. So it just doesn't make sense and it doesn't work. And so here's why I believe that a belief and passion and a undying drive to make your business grow is important, because wherever you are, your team's going to be right behind you. They're never going to be ahead. They're going to be right behind you. So if you're not into your business, if you're doing it for the money, if you're trying to get a paycheck, if it's really just about like the day-to-day for you, your team's never going to be as excited as they can be, and they're never going to be as vested as they can be, and good people will leave. Because good people don't ever want to feel that you're not as into it as they are. So when it comes to building a team, your belief is everything.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about that a little bit, because your podcast is hugely, a lot of the content you create is about team building and the lessons you've learned in the past by losing good people and true believers and things like that. I guess I'm at that stage in my business right now. You know, we went from 3 to 14 people really, really quickly. By the end of the year, we're probably going to grow again. And so I'm really absorbing that level of your content right now about team building and some of the lessons you learned. So if you don't mind, if we could touch on that, what are the important lessons you've learned about team building, and what are the mistakes you see people making?
Oh man, there's so many, Billy, but I think if I had to boil it down to one thing is that you have to hire true believers if you're an entrepreneur, because I'll put this out there right at the beginning. I am an unconventional business coach. I do not coach people the way that most consultants, most coaches in the world do. Most of what we coach is different, and most of what we coach is very unique. And one of the things that we talk about all the time is hiring true believers, because what we want in the companies that we coach and what we want in our business is people who are part of the cause, part of the movement, who are there for what we're doing. Because here's the challenge for most entrepreneurs building a team. You hear it in their language, is that they're trying to motivate people. They're trying to get people involved. They're trying to get people excited. Here's what I always tell entrepreneurs, Billy. If you hire true believers, you will never have to motivate them. If you hire people who are not, you'll never be able to motivate them enough, because you are a true believer in your business. So you have to surround yourself with people who are there for the cause. And then what happens is, rather than motivating and pushing and driving them, you get to coach You get to help and you get to support them in going towards the cause and the outcome. And so as far as building a team, number one, hire true believers. And then number two, and it's a close second, is you must create a system through which your team knows where you're going. If you don't have a strategic plan, you are always the biggest bottleneck in the business. And that's one of the biggest complaints from entrepreneurs, is that they feel like they have to do everything. They feel like they're getting all the questions, making all the decisions. You know, and I often ask, like, if you feel like that, tell me about your strategic planning process. And 99% of the time, there is no strategic planning process. So here's what happens to a team. A team is part of this organization, and here's the problem. You're here as the entrepreneur. They want to know where you're going. The only way they can find out is to ask you, to look to you, to listen to you. And so you're constantly trying to communicate the future. If you create a strategic plan that gives your team a clear roadmap, here's what happens, Billy. You go from your team being locked up behind you to your team being able to lead the way, and you can lead from behind. You can pick up the stragglers. You can make sure nobody gets left behind. You can talk to the people who need coaching. You can talk to the people who need motivation, and your team becomes the tip of the spear. And here's the reality about good team members. They want that. They don't want to be constrained. They don't want to be held back. They want you to tell them where to go and then go out and run at it. And if they make a mistake, you help them get right back up.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Definitely agree. I've got I had a coaching client of mine, and him and his wife had a salon down in New South Wales, different state. And he showed some interest actually in ClickFunnels, and we were building some funnels at the time. And eventually I sort of convinced him, well, not convinced him, he said he was looking for a change. And I said, look, we're looking for some interns in marketing. If you want to come up, and I'll mentor you and train you. And he did it. He took the risk. He's left his family. His family's going to move up. They're going to sell their business, and their family's going to move up. And you know what? He's come on board. He's here every morning at super early, stays super late, and he writes me little messages like, you know, I really believe in you and what you're doing. And it's just like, I think I've got an entire team like that actually, but you're so right. It takes the energy out of it. You don't have to keep constantly reminding and reinforcing that motivation when you have people there who believe in what you do and can see your vision, see where the company as a whole are going, and you have the collective goals rather than the individual goals of the entrepreneur, right?
See if this resonates, Billy. You know, every one of us, every entrepreneur I've ever worked with has felt alone. Have you?
100%. Right now, we'll get to that in a second. Yeah.
So, but here's this, what I always tell entrepreneurs, especially those who are resistant to building a team. Once you build a team of true believers, you never walk into any room alone ever again.
Yeah, right.
I feel like entrepreneurs have two families. There's a family we were born into, and there's the family we build in our business.
Yeah.
And you surround yourself with people who are in it for the cause, who care about your clients. You don't know how productive an entrepreneur you can be, and you don't know how big you can show up in the world until you have a team on your side that gives you the confidence to go out there and do everything that you were meant to do. And so for me, when I talk to entrepreneurs, it's not if you build a team, it's how quickly can we start your team, and how fast can we get you creating the leverage you need to leave your mark in the universe.
Yeah, 100%. So how do you then, Alex, how do you find the true believers? What's your method? What's your strategy to find true believers? Do they now come to you because you're just creating so much content? And if so, how did you do it at the start? It's because a lot of people aren't where Alex Charfen is right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, these days, Billy, you know, we have most everybody we've hired is a podcast addict. They've gone through most of our podcasts, or they watch our stuff online, or they've watched us on YouTube. So people show up, true believers. But let me help the people who are listening who don't have a following like we do, because a lot of my clients don't have the same type of social media presence or awareness that we have. So we qualify true believers in three ways. So one, the first way is you want a true believer in you and who you are. The second one is your products and what your products do. So your company and what products you put out. And then the third one is your clients and what they do. Now, if you don't have the same type of exposure I have, or somebody like you has, when you're hiring people, you look for the second two. So you want to make sure you hire true believers in what your company does and the types of products you have, and then who your clients are. So as an example for you, Billy, you coach salon owners, you coach small business owners. So you're looking for true believers in small business. You're looking for people who have a background in small business, who want to help small business owners. You might even be looking for people who want to help salon owners. Are they passionate about what you do? And then my belief is you hire those people, and then you win them over to believe in you and who you are. Because if you can get all three of those, you and who you are, your company and the products you put out, and your clients and who they serve, those true believers will be more motivated than anybody on your team. Billy, no joke. I had to, like, my operations manager is taking a day off today. and she's been with us for a year, and we had to convince her to take a day off of vacation because she's so passionate about working every day. And we told her, like, hey, we are not going to check in. We're not going to bother you at all. She's with her daughter today. But like, think about, I watch the conversations in news groups and stuff where small business owners are having conversations about, hey, my team wants to take too much vacation, and I have people taking time off and people aren't showing up and I can't get stuff done. Legit, we have a hard time getting our team to take time off. You hire true believers and everything changes.
We'll be right back after this short break. If you have always wanted to grow your salon but never quite knew how, didn't know where to start, didn't know who had the right information, or you just didn't have the money to get it, well, this June I'm hosting a life-changing event for 1,500 salon owners, which will be the biggest of its kind ever held anywhere in the hair and beauty industry. We have 23 of the very best and most successful speakers delivering the most valuable and up-to-date strategies over one single weekend to give you real-time strategies you can use straight away to finally see the results you always wanted. For over 10 years, I've seen salon owners struggle to get started or grow or reach their goals. And so I created this event so salon owners just like you can get all the skills, strategies, and resources they need to succeed. So go to salongrowthcon.com/the-details now to find out more information. That's salongrowthcon.com/the-details. Tickets will sell out fast, so make sure you go to that website right now and find out all the information you need on this amazing event.
So I've got an event coming up. I'm hosting an event. So last year, I said to you at the start, that I'm on this mission to kind of get people to fall in love with business as much as they are with hair and beauty. And so last year I ran these events, sort of like a test seminar, and we did it in 7 locations in Australia and New Zealand. And they went really well. And so I just went all in this year and said, instead of doing these micro events in different states, I was going to host this big event. And so we've got this big event coming up in June this year. It's called Salon Growth Con. And there's nothing being done like this in the industry ever before. And so for 2 days, we got 23 keynote speakers. And we're aiming for around 1,500 to 2,500 people. And so outside of my true believers in my company, there's a lot of people saying, you've overextended, you shouldn't have done it, it's too big a step. Are you prepared for this? All of those sorts of things, because I'm sure you've heard before. So how do people, I'm okay. Like, I feel like I've developed a pretty thick skin these days, but how does somebody get through that negative noise? Especially from friends and family, who as entrepreneurs, I hear all the time, like, you just got to detach yourself from the message from friends and family, but that's easier said than done. When your friends and family are saying, don't do something, it's not going to work, you got to kind of push through it. So how do you go through that?
Well, I always tell, I have simple rules for entrepreneurs. I tell them, if you have a great idea and you want to make sure you don't really do that much with it, tell your friends about it. And if you have a great idea and you want to make sure you never do anything, tell your family about it. Because the people around us aren't the same as we are. And they get nervous, they get scared. Like, a day in our lives, we experience more stress in a day than the average person experiences in an entire year. Yeah. Our days take them out. The ambiguity we deal with, the vulnerability we deal with, the exposure we deal with. Most people couldn't even do what you and I are doing right now. The average person is more afraid of death than public speaking. So just this experience would kill most people. I mean, let's be honest. That means at the average funeral, most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. So, like, we're not the same as everybody else. And so,
yeah, so true.
the fact is that you have to, like, look at who you're taking input from and who you're taking advice from. And so the way that we do it is, create a strategic plan and work your plan, and then have the things in place that you need to maintain momentum, and don't listen to the rest of the world. Here's how you maintain momentum as an entrepreneur. If you have a pen, write this down, because there's only 3 things you need, and everybody gets confused. But if you don't have these 3 things, you will not be in momentum. If you create these 3 things, it's almost assured. So number 1 is a clear outcome. That means you have a definable destination that you can see from where you are. Let me say something about that. You have to be careful with clear outcomes, because I'll talk to an entrepreneur and I'll say, hey, how's your business? It's great. Well, what's your turnover? How much are you doing a year? And they'll say, well, 175,000. And I'm like, awesome, great. That's an awesome start. What is your goal for next year? 3 million. And I'm always like, tell me how you're going to get to 3 million from 175,000. Like, do you have the opportunity right now? Can you see it? And then it gets wishy-washy. So have a clear outcome that's real. If you're at 175, Set your goal at 250. Pull the target closer. Make things easy on yourself. You can see from 175 to 250. From 175 to 3 million, you're going to get confused.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. I think people don't understand what it takes as well to make $3 million. I think they don't understand the output required.
And Ricky, we've been trained, we've been given this bill of goods by these goal setting guys. Like, you know, whenever I go to a conference and they have the goal setting speaker, I leave. Because the guy who gets up on stage and says, write down the biggest number you've ever thought of, cross it out and double it. That's your goal. We're going play. I'm like, shut up. You know, the goal setting guy never had to be the goal achievement guy. And there's a reason, because that crap doesn't work. And so pull the target closer, give yourself a clear outcome. That's number one. Number two, clear accountability. Make a list of all the things you need to do. Like, what is it you're doing? What are your responsibilities? What are the responsibilities of the people around you? If you know if you have a clear outcome, you know what you're doing, you're 2/3 of the way there. The third part, and this is important, create a scoreboard. You have to have transparency. You have to have measurement. If you have an outcome, if you have clear accountability and you have a scoreboard, those are literally the 3 elements of what it takes to get into physiological, cognitive, and chemical momentum for somebody like us.
That is so good. Such great advice. And you know what I'm loving about this podcast as well is that it's, you know, we spoke about motivational speakers just then. A lot of motivational speakers, they give you this broad level macro version advice. It's just like, yeah, you just got to do a marketing plan. And people leave away going, yeah, I'm super pumped. Let's do the marketing plan. They sit at their desk and go, I don't know how to do a marketing plan.
What does that
look
like?
And so, you know, when you break it down into 3 steps, it's like, and even then, you know, there's still some work to be done on that, but at least it's actionable. At least you can take something away from what you just said and go, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. I read a book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution, I think it's called, which was awesome. It was about the athletics, the baseball team, the Oakland Athletics, wasn't it, I think at the time. The guy who came in and just analyzed all the maths data, and they didn't have the biggest budget, didn't have the biggest team, but analyzed all the data and had this amazing team. And they talk a lot about that, about the cadence of accountability and also about creating a scoreboard. And so I think that's been something that I've tried to bring into my business a lot, but certainly when you list it with those 3 things, it just makes so much sense.
Well, check this out, Billy. We can reverse engineer momentum in your life. I want to show you how true it is that those are the only 3 things you need. Do you remember a period of momentum in your life?
What was that, sorry?
You remember a period of momentum. So think back through your life.
Yeah.
And not recent, but think back, like I don't want the one you're in right now because you're probably in a period of momentum. I can tell by talking to you earlier. But think back to a previous one. What is a time period that you felt clear momentum?
Yep.
Do you know what it was?
Yeah.
What was it?
When I first started my franchise business, that was about 10 years ago. I wanted to have 100 franchises.
Okay. So tell me, when you first started your franchise business, who were you helping and who was helping you? Like, what kind of accountability was there?
I think at the very start, I was mainly accountable to myself, but I was in a small salon, and I was accountable to my team, and I was trying to help my team, I guess.
And who was helping you?
I had a business coach at the time.
So you had a coach who was contributing to you, you were contributing to them, and you had clarity around what you needed to do.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
What scoreboard were you using? How did you know if you were successful?
I was back then. There was no software apps really like we have today. So it was just a Microsoft Excel spreadsheets that every week I would track it. I had about 15 tabs along the bottom. Every single part of my business, I'd measure it every single week. And I had what we call like a normal line. So the normal line was the flat line, the target, and every week we would plot and see if we were above or below. Yeah.
So check this out, Billy. Period of momentum in your life. You had a clear outcome. You actually said it out loud. I wanted to help 100 salons.
Yeah.
2, you knew exactly what you were responsible for, and you even had contribution from the outside holding you accountable. And then 3, you had a clear scoreboard. You go back through your life, and anyone can do this. Sit down, write down the periods of momentum in your life, and what you'll find, clear outcome, crystal clear. Then you'll find clear accountability. You knew your role, and there was a scoreboard there. And so if you're in a period where you're not feeling momentum, or you're feeling like it's hard to get into momentum, examine what's going on and ask yourself, do you have a crystal clear outcome? Do you know exactly what your responsibilities are? And do you have a scoreboard? If you don't, fix the one of those that is missing, and the momentum is assured. Because here's my theory about people like us, Billy. We're evolutionary hunters. We are the small percentage of the population that goes out into the future, creates a new reality, comes back to the present, and insists it becomes real. And in order to do that, we need to have perspective. We need to understand where we're going. So if you have those 3 things, you will get into momentum and stay there.
Yeah, perfect. It's good advice, and I'm going to be taking that and talking to my coach. I might even we do a mastermind, my own coaching program once a month, and I think I'm going to deep dive into that a little bit more and really make sure that all of our coaching clients have got that, because it makes perfect sense. So many times, hey, when you ask people about their goals and where they want to be and what they want to achieve, and they're not keeping track. And someone once explained this to me about it with sport as well. You could go and watch your favorite sport team playing their favorite sport, but if you're just watching them kick a ball for a while and there's no scoreboard, eventually you're just going to go, well, this isn't interesting anymore. And so keeping the score is it's just so important. It's missed. I just want to transition, if I can, a little bit, because I know we're going to run out of time soon. You talk a lot about Katie and your relationship with her. I'm married myself, and I have two young boys. One's 6, one's 10 months old, which is just such a fun age. The 6-year-old is just trouble, and the 10-month-old is he's just starting to take his first steps. So it's really beautiful time and things like that. How important is your relationship with Katie and your own success, if you don't mind me asking that question? And surrounding yourself with someone really, really close and intimate in your life that you can share this journey with. How important do you think it is?
It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. I have 2 rules for entrepreneurial success, and this is how I coach. A lot of the entrepreneurs, most of the entrepreneurs I work with are married. There are some people that we work with that are single, and we have different conversations with them. But for married entrepreneurs, here are my 2 rules. Number 1, treat your marriage as though it's most important. Number 2, create proactive transparency in your marriage. That means you create an open dialogue where you're not waiting for your spouse to ask, you're explaining to them what's going on. And they know as much about your business, or they know enough about your business that they can help you make decisions and give you input, because that will create a level of intimacy between the 2 of you that will make you unstoppable. And the fact is, you will only have as much momentum in your business as you have in your marriage. However, you should separate the 2 and create a process and a structure in your marriage so that it never is governed by the momentum in the business. So make your marriage the leading force, and everything else will work out. Far too many entrepreneurs say things like, oh, I'm just going to focus on my business now, and then I'll catch up with my wife, or I'm not going to tell her what's really going on right now because she doesn't need to know, or my husband doesn't need to understand what's in the salon because it confuses him. To all of that, I say that is your biggest liability. Because if you create intimacy in your personal relationship with your spouse, that is your superpower, and you know your spouse is your secret weapon. That's why you chose them. So give them the time and the effort and the input so that they can legitimately support you in your business.
Yeah, awesome. On that note, we'll probably wrap it up with that, because I think I really wanted to ask that question because I knew you were passionate about it, but you just so perfectly summed it up. And I think in my own life, my wife and I, we actually separated for 12 months a while ago. This is a couple of years ago. And we realized that we actually did love each other. And we tried it again. And our marriage this time around is just so much better. And I think it definitely has a lot to do with the fact we talk to each other a lot more. And, even recently I was in Melbourne last weekend. I was doing some presentations in Melbourne last weekend. And I said to the marketing intern who I was talking before, his name's Andrew. His name's not the marketing intern, his name's Andrew. So he came with me, and I said, and we were talking about it. I was like, it just feels so much more comfortable. I'm away from home, but I still have such an amazing relationship with my wife. And when we go home, I'm really looking forward to seeing her and the kids. I just think it does. It just gives you so much more reassurance, and it makes a big difference in your own journey.
Absolutely. And Billy, here's something for everybody to think about in their marriage or their intimate relationship, is that as entrepreneurs, we put process in the things that matter to us. We create process in our business. We create process for morning routines. We figure things out, and then we expect our marriage to exist on its own. And what we coach is you should have a process in your marriage. Katie and I align on a quarterly basis around our big goals. We align on a monthly basis around what we need for our family and what we're doing with our finances. We align every week so we know each other's calendars and where we can support each other. And we sit down and we align every single day around where we're going during the day. And Katie always tells people, process in a marriage might not sound sexy, but you end up having a lot more sex.
I'll write that down.
Exactly. The reason is if you create process and you put the time in, you're actually putting your time in the place where you say you actually value your life. When you ask most entrepreneurs, what's the most important thing in your life? They're going to say their wife and kids. Well, my question is, if I looked at your calendar and if I looked at your checkbook, would that be what I saw? And so if you create a daily alignment with your spouse, if you spend time with your kids every morning, every morning I align with Katie. Every morning I go for a walk with my kids. I have a process so that I know I've connected with my family. And I would highly recommend anybody who's listening, create process in your marriage. It will change everything.
Yeah, perfect. Love it. On that note, Mr. Alex Charfen, I know you recently did a podcast the other day about you don't do coffee, but I've got a coffee here, and so I feel awfully privileged that you have done coffee with me this morning. And I needed one, given that I've got up at 2:30 for 2 days.
I got my big bottle of water. So
yeah, I was going to actually say, mine's not as sexy as yours. It's just a glass bottle. But, we'll get to that in a sec. So with that being said, I feel completely privileged and humbled to have you on the show today. I'm a massive fan of yours, been following you for a long time, and to get the opportunity to sit down and ask you these questions and get some insights really into the mind of Alex Charfen has been my absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been great. And if I take Sal and GrowthCon to the US, we might have to get you up on stage when we do that event.
Oh man, I'm ready. You let me know, Billy.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks so much for your time, Alex, this morning. Great to have you on. And always, people, if you are following this on YouTube, please make sure you hit that share button. Let the world know how much Alex Charfen is appreciated. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well and hit the notification bell if you're listening on the podcast. What I want you to do right now is look at your screen, take a screenshot, and share that on your platform, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. Do all those great things to let the world know that entrepreneurs are here. We're all part of your journey and we're all doing amazing things. And Alex, just quickly before you go, just a quick plug on your own platforms if we can.
Oh, absolutely. So if anybody would like to read the book, The Entrepreneurial Personality Type, go to freemomentumbook.com. You pay for shipping, we'll ship it to you for free. And then if you'd like to check out the Momentum podcast, I do a 4-day-a-week podcast. It's me sharing business strategies. In fact, a lot of it comes from products that we used to sell. So if you go to momentumpodcast.com, some of the highest value content on any podcast out there. Legitimately, our goal is if you listen to that podcast, we will get you to the point where you can join one of our high-level coaching programs.
Yeah, awesome. Alex Charfen, been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to have you on the show again sometime in the future.
Sounds good. I'm here for 200, Billy.
Awesome, brother. I'll catch you later.
See you soon.
See you, mate. Hey guys, if you love this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. And also, if you have not yet got your tickets for Sal and GrowthCon 2019, make sure you do. Go to the link that's in the description below because I do not want you to miss out on this amazing event.